The dynamic period between the ages of 12 and 20 is one that is full of opportunities and challenges for the teenager. It is during this period that he matures into adulthood, and quite a lot takes place during that period. Today we will be talking about the uniqueness of adolescence. And what are these uniqueness, or what are the characteristics rather, that accompany the adolescent? These and several other questions you will find answers to in the course of today's episode of Health Matters, your TV health program. And I have with me a guest, a medical doctor, a consultant in public health. She is Dr. Mrs. Yetunde Olagbuji. And Madam, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
I was telling your audience that today we'll be talking about adolescence. That may sound like a big word. So first and foremost, kindly tell us, what is adolescence?
Thank you so much. Adolescents are children between the ages of 10 and 19 years. And that peculiar period called the adolescenthood is that transitional period between the childhood and adulthood. They are not fully adults, but they are no longer children. They are developing rapidly to become adults. So during this period, they want to take up the sense of an adult. They want to do what adults do because of the changes that occur in them. So that's what we mean by adolescence.
Good. You said between the ages of
10 and 19 years, yes.
And 19.
Yes.
And you also added that during that period, the adolescent wants to take up responsibilities,
Yeah.
normally associated with adults. Now, I want you to tell us more elaborately, what are the characteristics of an adolescent?
During the period of adolescence, like I said, between the ages of 10 and 19 years, a child that gets to that point, they begin to have the physical changes, psychological, cognitive, that means the way they think, and every part of them, the psychological thinking, everything starts to develop in a very rapid manner, and all these changes occur all at once. I'll start with the physical changes. For both boys and girls, they have changes in the physical changes in girls. They have breasts, then they start menstruation, then their hips grows bigger, they have hair under their pubic region. That means they have hair in their pubic region, they have hair under their armpits, and that those are the physical changes that we see. And the psychological changes, they feel independent, they feel they don't want to be corrected, they feel they're matured enough to make decisions for themselves, and they also are conscious of the opposite sex. They when they feel they shouldn't get too fat, they shouldn't eat too much, so many things, because they now have a kind of self-awareness. They see themselves really developing, they grow taller and things like that. Then for the boys, they start wet dreams. They see that when they sleep, they see that their beds are wet. That's their first experience at ejaculation. Then they have the bass voice. They also have hair under their armpit and their pubic region. Some have on their chest and other parts like that. They also feel conscious of the opposite sex. That's when they want to speak to the girl. They want to speak to girls. Their penis also enlarges and they grow taller. The girls have growth spots at some point where they grow a bit taller than the boys. But after a period, maybe during the late period of adolescence, then they overtake the girls. They grow to the height that they can actually reach, and that's when they stand out really from the girls as really being taller than them. So those are some of the changes that occur in them. Then, like I said, is the independence that is the major thing. They don't want to listen to their parents any longer because they feel that they are matured, and they tend to now rely on their peers. They want to do what their peers are doing, and they want to experiment with adult behavior. They want to experiment with sex. They want to experiment with alcohol. They want to experiment with drugs because they feel they are adults. They feel they are old enough to make their own decisions. And so these are some of the things that happen in them. And if this period is not properly managed, you see that many of them fall into wrong hands. Many of them get pregnant. Many of them, they start to take so many things that we have nowadays. They take cannabis, they take igbo, like they call it, marijuana, so many things that they mix together. They take tramadol, they take codeine. There are all sorts of things that they are very injurious to their health, and they engage in, some of them that can drive, they want to prove that they can really drive. You see them involved in road traffic accidents and all sorts of things. They're involved in partying, drinking, and all sorts of things. And so that's why we have so many of the social vices nowadays, because they want to have money. So from the time they are involved in whatever their peers tell them, you see them involved in kidnapping and all sorts of things that is really, let me say it's what we have prevalent in our environment nowadays.
Thank you very much. That's quite elaborate. Now, I want you to tell us, this program dwells largely on health. What are the health issues, surrounding the adolescent person?
Thank you. The health issues that affects adolescents are they actually occur because of their activities, their habits. Like I said, they want to experiment with so many of the adult behavior without critically thinking about the consequences of their actions. So you see them engage in sex, and they engage in unprotected sex. From unprotected sex, they can have teenage pregnancy. They can become pregnant. They can have from teenage pregnancy, they will be tempted to abort. They can abort. Many of them die as a result of abortion because it's not legalized in Nigeria. So you see them go to quacks to do this abortion for them, and from there, as I said, they can lose their lives while trying to achieve that. Then even from unprotected sex, they can have hepatitis B virus, they can have hepatitis C virus, they can have HIV and AIDS, they can have sexually transmitted infections. So those are sexually related infections that they can have. Then talking about their involvement in drug abuse, which is really very common in our environment today. You see them, they have schizophrenia, that's what we call madness, pure madness. They have depression alternating with mania, so the excited state. And you see many of them, they are on the streets, they are no longer aware of their environment because they lose control because of the intake of the drugs that they take. They have a number of them. They call it coochies. They use it to enhance. Sometimes they use it to enhance their sexual life, and sometimes they just want to show their mates that yes, I'm also I know what is happening. I'm not an old school person. That's why they involve themselves in all these things. Then you see them, they drop out of school. Yeah, though it's not, we can't really say it's directly health, but of course, when you have them drop out of school, then poverty it's inevitable because they'll not be going to school. They constitute social menace in our environment, like what I mentioned, robbery, kidnapping, and all sorts of things. Then we also have road traffic accidents because they drive recklessly most times, or even under the influence of drugs and alcohol. And you see them, sometimes they die instantly when they're involved in these accidents, or they are left in a morbid state. They can have broken arms, broken legs, and things like that. These are some of the health challenges that adolescents face.
Thank you very much for your elaborate explanation. Now I want to ask, the health issues you have mentioned, do they spread equally all through these adolescents from the beginning of it to the age of 19? I'm asking this because I want to know if there are stages of adolescence? Are there any stages?
Yes, we have.
Do they change even within between from one stage to another?
Yes, they do. We have, I would divide the period of adolescence into three. We have the early adolescence, that is between ages of 10 and 13. We have the middle adolescence, that's 14 to about 16, 17. Then we have the late adolescence, that is 18 and 17 upwards. So the risk increases as they age. The ones that have the lowest risk are the ones between 10 and 13 years. The developmental changes that they undergo doesn't just occur all at once. It takes that 9-year period for everything to surface. So the risk that they are exposed to, like I explained, is also determined by their age. As they grow into the middle adolescence and late adolescence, they are more exposed to risk, to sexual intercourse, to taking of alcohol and drugs, and even to drive. For our parents, they will tend to release their cars to those who are maybe a bit older. Maybe an 18-year-old is already in the university, so you tend to see that amongst them. And there's something else that is really common amongst adolescents, is masturbation. Our society is such that we don't talk so much about these things, particularly our parents, because our society just forbids it, or we have a conservative society. And that is why so many of these children, it is what they learn. This is an era of technological advancement where children can view pornographic sites on their phones. They can get information at their fingertips. They have information at their fingertips. They go to the internet. They see all sorts of things. And so our society really needs to change from being very conservative, because that is, the more the less we give information to the right information to these children at home, the more they are exposed to these things and the more risk they have as they age.
Thank you very much for your explanation. You talked about the three stages. You talked about the early stage, the middle stage, and the late stage. When we come back, we will talk more about this. And viewer, this is Health Matters. My guest, Dr. Yetunde Olagbuji, has been telling us quite a lot about the uniqueness of adolescence. When we come back, we'll talk more. Don't go away. Welcome back. This is Health Matters on OSRC TV, and my guest, Dr. Mrs. Yetunde Olagbuji, is still very much around. She's a consultant public health physician, and we are talking about the uniqueness, we may say beauty, of adolescence. And I said earlier that it comes with quite a lot of opportunities and challenges. We've dwelt more about the challenges. Let's talk about the opportunities. So, madam, once again, you are welcome back.
Thank you so much.
I was saying that there are quite a lot of opportunities that accompany the period of adolescence. Would you be able to tell us some of this?
Thank you so much. I will say that it's not all bad news. Yes, for the adolescents, because of their developmental changes, they are predisposed to a lot of societal vices. But because this age group are very agile, they are energetic, they are the leaders of tomorrow. That is why all of us together, we need to seize this opportunity and ensure that these children are properly guided, because an unguided adolescent is a disaster to our environment. And so the opportunities are many. And right now, I don't want us to see the technological advancement I talked about as all negative. There are so many positive things that we can actually get from this technology that we're talking about. Information, it's all there. When they go for the right information, then definitely you know that they will be making use of technology, and of course they will surpass the achievements of the people that lived before, because they have information always at their fingertips, and they can actually do and develop our nation better. And another thing is, right now we have a lot of young people doing great things, even as early as 10 years. There's a particular small girl in the US, a black lady, a black girl, I would say. She found out that there was a need in her environment where she was living. There was no water, and so she wrote a letter to President Obama requesting that she wanted to visit him to explain and discuss with him about the problems in our environment. And of course, President Obama was shocked, and he actually visited this small girl where she lived, and of course the problem was resolved. That's a young child, 10 years, but she was able to do something because she took it upon herself, and she told herself that she can actually achieve something regardless of her age, and she was able to solve that problem for people in our environment. Likewise, adolescents, this is the time, I always call the period of adolescence a preparatory phase. It's a discovery phase. You need to discover who you really are. Who are you? What are you on earth to achieve? What are you on earth to actually do? I'm sure everybody is unique. Our fingerprints are different. So also what we have come to the world to achieve, we also have differences in what we have come to the world to achieve. So the onus is on us, as on every adolescent, to discover who they really are, so that they can make impact, and so that they can also develop themselves in line with what they want to achieve in life. And so the period of adolescence is not supposed to be a period where they waste their lives away. Just at that very end, our parents need to guide these children to be able to set goals. You first set small goals for them, then you now start to set bigger goals for them. They set it themselves, but you guide them to set it. And you also teach them about decision making, which is critical, because that's how they can actually utilize the opportunities that they have, their energy, their agility, and all that. We need to help them to be able to use that period very well, so that it will result into national development. An healthy nation, an healthy adolescent will always result into an healthy nation. So that is why everybody, we need to put our hands together, not to just look at these children waste away. We need to properly guide and channel their energy that they have into proper things, so that it will result into it will result into a national achievement for everybody. So it's critical. They can do a lot. It's not just, I don't think it's just to...
Yes, I understand your point. Thank you very much for that elaborate point you are making. Now, let us talk about what the adolescent expects from the society. You said, and I said too, that it is a maturing period, which means they are still under the tutelage of their parents, their teachers, and all of them. Now, what do they expect? What impact would you expect the society to engender on the adolescents?
Okay, I believe that every adolescent expects the government and everybody to actually care for them. What do I mean by that? There are certain responsibilities of government, certain responsibilities of parents, certain responsibilities of teachers, and even the schools to provide for these adolescents. Of course, we have all the schools in place, and of course we have public and private schools. And in each schools, I believe that sex education should be one of the core things that should be preached or should be taught in our schools. And even in the churches, we need to really be teaching and telling these adolescents, because you need to keep giving this information for them not to miss their way. So they expect that information, everybody to give that information, and so that they will not be neglected. Because right now, particularly for governments, I feel that more things should be done to have services, youth-friendly services for these adolescents. Not where they can, services where they can access easily, services that are affordable, services that are accessible. And when they go there, for the officers they meet there, the health workers, not to be judgmental. They have their own peculiar needs. Particularly that sexual reproductive health rights is something that we should help them to achieve. And they should be able to freely walk up to an hospital to say, I want to have sex. I think I want to be protected. I don't want to have HIV, because if they are properly informed, I don't want to have HIV. And they should be able to get the services that they require, to say, okay, the health worker they meet there shouldn't look at them in a judgmental way, or say, I'm going to tell your mom, because that's what we have nowadays. I'll tell your mom, okay, you came to the hospital for this disease. They should be able to protect them, to give them what they need, and educate them more on what they need to protect themselves, so that they don't have HIV/AIDS, they don't have sexually transmitted infections. There was a study I conducted some time ago, and I asked what these children really need, and they actually want these services in code to be available in their schools. Many of them actually want these things available in their schools, well, not in the hospital, because they see that hospital, they are not sick. These are very vibrant children in society. So when everybody sees them as going to the hospital, they think there's something there. So if they have these services in their schools, they can walk up there and say what is in their mind. And sometimes they are even prevented from doing some of these things, because most times our parents don't talk to these children. We threaten them. Most of the time we are terrors to them. We because the African culture, if you do this, I'll kill you. If you do this, I'll kill you. That's not how it's supposed to be. Our parents need to be friends with their wards or children. The study I also conducted also revealed this. Many of the adolescents don't want to confide in their parents, because they feel their parents are judgmental. The mom will tell the father will beat them and all sorts of things. And by the time we do this, we push these children away to their peers, and it's whatever the peers tell them that they do, because peer pressure is one of the greatest things that affects these children. Once they are not able to freely confide in their parents, then they miss it along the line. Our parents need to take them as friends, particularly the mothers. The fathers can also do it. We need to take them as friends. When they say anything, whether it's wrong or right, we should listen to them and find a way to properly guide their thoughts. It is critical, and these are the things that they expect from the society to do to them. And that is because the society is not doing so much. That is why we are having the situation that we are having now in our environment.
Okay, thank you. Now let us try to reverse it. You've talked about what the society can do for them. Briefly, can you tell us what the society expects from them?
Okay. The society, of course, like I said the young people are the leaders of tomorrow. We are hoping and expecting that these young people will take over from this generation. Particularly, we are talking now about those who can actually contest as presidents. And I think right now they are saying that from the age of 40, you can actually contest, or maybe even lower, or 30. So these are already thinking about young people. So we are looking at a generation where or let me say the society expects these children to automatically take over and advance our economy, advance the nation in terms of when you have economic productivity, then of course that nation is doing very well. So that's what the society expects from these adolescents. But of course it doesn't come easy like that. We need to invest in these adolescents for us to be able to claim anything back from them. Nutrition wise, let me talk about nutrition. A child that is not properly fed cannot contribute, or a child that has stunting or underweight or has a nutritional challenge cannot maximally contribute to economic development, because nutrition is very essential for their brains to develop, and it is only when their brain develop that they can contribute meaningfully. So these are things that the society expects from these children.
Thank you very much. And finally, and in one sentence, give us your counseling.
Yes, I'll say that everybody is involved in this race. We as parents, teachers, guardians, government, everybody, we really need to invest in these children for us to be able to maximize from their potentials. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody must ensure that much investment is done for the adolescent,
yes,
so that we can fully harness their potentials.
Yeah.
And Dr. Mrs. Yetunde Olagbuji, thank you very much for being here with us.
You're welcome.
Some other time you will be back here.
Thank you.
Viewer, thank you very much for watching us. You've been watching and listening to my guest, Dr. Mrs. Olagbuji, who has been telling us quite a lot about the adolescent. We talked about the challenges, we talked about the opportunities therein, and we encourage the general public to be very active, to be assertive in getting the best for the adolescents, because they are the ones that will grow to become the future leaders of our country. And this is where we call it a day on today's episode of the program. If you believe the game is what they can do, why don't you join us same time next week for another educative edition of it. Yomi Ogunye is my name. Thanks for watching us. Goodbye.